joins us later today. 305 News Radio WRVA.
All right, it's 6:33 this morning on Richmond's Morning News, News Radio WRVA. We will take your text messages at 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. Now we just started something yesterday when we were saying, just say hi to Dave. Morning, Dave. Have a great day, Rich. Whatever. Dave Winterbach.
Oh, that's funny. You opened up a whole new can of worms.
I'm okay. Let's see. Where am I going to go? Scott the Independent says it's the day the Major League Baseball dreads the start of the NFL college football season. So interesting that you bring that up, Scott. Way back in the day, and I read this in Pete Rozell's biography, who was the commissioner of the National Football League. The day after the World Series, he would pop a bottle of champagne the next morning saying, finally, it's football season. Now, if you're Major League Baseball, the second this Hall of Fame game goes and these training camps open, you get knocked like 7 pages back and off the front of the news. So it's actually the complete opposite now, 50 years later. Great point. Very, very good point. All right, 833-804-1140. Somebody else said, hey, good morning, Rich. Super Dave. Donald J. Trump, the person I voted for 6 times, if he were truly making America great again, the communists wouldn't be getting a foothold. I wanted to bring that up because I think that's a very interesting take, because I know a lot of people are trying to figure out Michigan, what in the world's going on. These DSA candidates are coming everywhere. I'm gonna give you my perspective on this. If you were making America great again, the communists wouldn't be getting a foothold in America right now. I'm going to give you a bigger picture. So if I just looked at that right now, and the point of view of being right up close to it, and just micro focusing on that, I think that's something that I would probably agree with. But if I step back 10 feet, I probably would have a different point of view. So I'll put it to you this way. A friend of mine, when I went to umpire school, explained to me before he went, he goes, don't stand right next to the play. I said, no, I want to look as close as I can to see if that runner is going to tag if that runner is going to get tagged by the second baseman. I want to get as close as possible. He goes, no, you don't. I said, why not? He goes, then you have tunnel vision and you don't see the whole picture. He goes, you want to get as back as far as you can. I said, that doesn't make any sense. I want to be right on top of it. And he said, let me ask you this. When you go to the movies, do you sit in the front row or the last row? I said, I sit in the last row. And he goes, it's because you want the widest picture so you can see everything going on, not just right what's in front of you. Oh, so when I went to umpire school, I learned you step back a couple steps, because if you're too close, you're going to miss things. And I think that's what you might be seeing right here. Yeah, absolutely. If you just look at the DSA that are coming, like, wait a minute, Trump's in office, look where these guys are coming from. But if you take a step back and you look from my perspective that I'm looking at, and I hate to do this because it just sounds conspiracy and it's kind of nerdy, but I'm going to go there anyway. There's a playbook for the left, and it's by a guy named Saul Alinsky. And you hear a lot of talk show hosts and podcasts talk about it, but it's this old book he wrote. It's called Rules for Radicals, and he shows you how you can chip away at this American society. And one of the things he had was just, nobody's going to go with you whole hog to say, let's become communist. You just kind of chip away bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And before you know it, you're already there. So I've talked about this before, the dancing chicken. If you've ever seen the movie Pure Country, the George Strait movie, they talk about a dancing chicken. So they used to have sideshows, carnivals, and you would go pay a quarter to see the dancing chicken. And this chicken would stand there on a platform, and it would just start hopping up and down and dancing. And nobody knew why the chicken was dancing. Wow, they got a dancing chicken. What you didn't know is the chicken was standing on top of a hot plate, and it was just standing there. And all of a sudden, they just start turning up the heat just a bit, until it got warm enough that the chicken started picking his foot up because it was hot. They turn it up a little bit more. He starts picking it up even more. They turn it up even more, picking it up even more, until the point they get until they get to the point where it's really hot, and now the chicken's hopping up and down. That's what you have right now in America, where the left has chipped away at so much of what we have. You don't understand how much they've chipped away at all of this, because if they would have turned up that hot plate immediately, the chicken's smart enough, he would have hopped off and gotten away. But because it was so gradual, he never noticed what was going on until it was too late. And that's where we are in America right now. They've chipped away at so much of what we call the fabric of our society that we don't really understand how much they've chipped away. That's why I talk about, I'm from California. I moved to Florida for a decade and a half. I came back to California. I didn't recognize it. I did not recognize that state at all. And that's why I left. People that lived there looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, look how bad the trash and the homeless and the crime and everything else. Well, I don't notice it. That's because they just sat there and they just turned up that hot plate just bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, that they don't even recognize how bad that place is. Think about this. If you lived at some town and then you leave for 30 years and you come back and it's completely remade. Like my brother went to the town that we grew up in, I think it was Monday. He drove up a little town called Salinas, California, just inland from Monterey, south of San Francisco. He hadn't been up there in a while, but he goes up and he goes, if you came, you wouldn't even recognize it. I was gone. The people that live there don't see any differences of it. If you have people that lived here in Richmond and they moved away 20 years ago, they come back like, oh my gosh, look at how much this town has grown. Those are the things that you don't see if you're here on a daily basis. And I think that's where we are with America. We didn't realize how much the left had chipped away at everything. Now you have Donald Trump, who's not only saw how much they chipped away, he's shoving back at everything they did, from the Smithsonian to schools to the immigration policy to the border. He's taken everything that they had done in the last 20 years, and he's absolutely stopped it and shoved them back as hard as they can. So how does the left respond? Well, they better get the biggest tent they can, because you got this guy over here, Donald Trump, who's hammering away at all of your progressive liberal ideas of DEI and wokeness and all the rest of this, men and women's sports, and everything that you thought you would establish a beachhead and you would put this in writing in stone and it was going to be there forever. Donald Trump just smashed. So what are they doing instead? They're trying to find as many allies as they can to stop the mean orange man. And that means they're willing to open up their tent. The Democrat Socialists of America come rushing in because they need as much help as they can to push back against the Make America Great Again agenda. That's where we are right now. So if you look at it up close, yeah, you know what? That's bad that the socialists have actually gotten a foothold in American politics. You take 10 steps back, you realize why the Democrats are so desperate that they will open up their tent. Tim Kaine will say, yeah, we have room for everybody in here, even people that want to abolish our Constitution. Can you imagine that? The Democratic Party is saying, let's bring people into our tent that want to smash the Constitution. They want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of the Supreme Court. They want to get rid of the Electoral College. They want to do all of this. They want to smash it to pieces. And the Democrats, in order to stop common sense Republican ideas, have to rely on the Democrat Socialists of America. That's, I think, telling of how far are you willing to go? How big are you willing to make your tent? Who are you willing to get in bed with? Because politics makes strange bedfellows. Who are you allowing to get under the covers with you? Are you allowing anybody just because you'll throw everything out the window, including the Constitution, in order to stop Donald Trump? That tells you a bigger part of where we are, is that they chipped away. He's fixed all of that. He shoved all of that back, and they're so desperate to get to where they thought this country was, and it was never going to push back, it was never going to flow back the other way, that they're willing to bring in socialists and people that want to destroy our way of life in order to get back to where they were with their progressive agenda. That just tells you where we are. All right. Number for you to join us here on the program, 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. I was going to actually talk about the NFL. I'll bring that up in just a second, but I thought that was an interesting conversation piece that you threw out there. Thank you for the text message, 833-804-1140. Okay. Let's talk about something real quick. We're going to talk with a gentleman that has an uphill battle. I'll be honest. He's going to run for U.S. Senate against Mark Warner. Warner's got a ton of money and a ton of name recognition. He's looking to go back to the Senate for the 4th time. He's a major general, 2-star, top of his class at West Point, went to Harvard. I mean, you talk about one of the most impressive resumes you'll see, but I want to get to know the man himself. Bert Mississauga is going to be joining us coming up here at the top of the hour. It's our first chance to talk to him. We'll introduce him to Richmond, Virginia,
1 minute.
and get a chance to see why he's doing this. Because I tell you this, I think I told you this the other day, that taking this job, there's people that have walked out of my life. There's people that don't talk to me anymore. It's not for the faint of heart getting in the arena and to run for U.S. Senate. God bless you, General, for doing this. We'll get to know him coming up here in just a few minutes. Today's program is brought to you in part by Pearson Automotive and Pearson Signature Dealership. That Pearson promise, only at Pearson Signature Dealership do they double the engine and transmission warranty on every new vehicle. They've done it for almost